Hi there, and welcome to the first episode of Words of Wisdom Mondays. I am your host, Jen Trum. So, I created this series because I believe that there have been some books I've read, presentations I've seen, movies I've seen that have inspired me so much that I believe that they can inspire others. And so, that is my intention for this series is to come on once a week, talk about something that's inspired me, why it's inspired me, and how maybe I've grown from reading the different book or whatever it is, and hope that it gives you something to take away to your own life. So today, for my first episode, I am picking my very favorite book. So I am choosing to talk about The Four Agreements by Don Manuel Miguel Ruiz. Sorry. This book and I have a kind of fascinating journey together. About 7 years ago, a coworker that I worked with had come up to me one day and she was like, "Oh, have you read this book? This book is so amazing." And truth be told, she was a little different. She was somebody who really marched to the own beat of her drum, didn't seem to really care what other people thought. And so she kind of was somebody that I wasn't super close to at that time. And so I was like, yeah, I'll get to it. Sounds great, whatever. Years go by and I hear about it again. And this time I hear about it from Oprah, I believe. I think pretty sure it was Oprah. And she had talked about this book and how important it was to her and what she got out of it. And now I was like, oh, okay. Now my interest got piqued because I kind of like what I hear from Oprah. So then, about 4 months ago, I was shopping in a used bookstore and I found not one, but two copies of the Four Agreements. So I bought them both and gave one to myself and I gave one to my 22-year-old stepson because he is trying to figure things out right now in his life. And so he devoured his like over the course of like a few days and was just like, wow, it was so good. It was so good. Me, on the other hand, I didn't. I held off starting it. I think I started the first few pages and I was like, wow, this is so good. This is so good. And then I got to a point where I think I got scared. I think I started to like really get in my own head around some of the things that I'm not doing that I know in my heart that I want to be doing. And so I put the book down for a while and I just kind of sat with it. And then a month or so later goes by and I pick it back up and I just start really pushing myself to make it through this book because it's a tough read at parts. It's really becoming more aware and honest around some of the things I was doing to myself, the self-sabotage and, things that I was really not showing up for myself in the best way that I could. So I had some hard truths to deal with, but doing so has been life-changing for me. And so that's what I want to share with you today is a little bit about the book. I want to share some of the great quotes from the book. There's an article that is called The Four Agreements Quotes. You can barely see it. The Four Agreements Quotes That You Need to Know. And it's on a blog called theDailyShifts.com. And it was published in February of 2021. And this article is great, especially if you're someone who just doesn't feel like you have the time to do any reading, doesn't have the time to even do Audible, then this is like Cliff Notes, so it's just a few pages long and goes over some of the highlights. So here's what I want to do is go through this. So first of all, they also agree that this book is life-changing. And if it's not at the top of your list and you haven't read it, I really recommend putting it higher if you if you can on your list because it's a very powerful book. So first, let's talk about what are the four agreements. The first agreement is called be impeccable with your word. The second agreement is called don't take anything personally. The third agreement is called don't make assumptions. And the fourth agreement is always do your best. Okay. So Be impeccable with your word. Here's a few things that they have to say about it. For many people, this is the hardest principle to follow. You should only say what you truly mean. Think before you speak and only say what genuinely rings true to you. I know this is so hard. This is so hard. And I know, I get it. I totally understand. We're always wanting other people to be pleased with us. We want people to appreciate us. We want to be valued, all of that. And so sometimes when it comes to saying what we truly mean and being genuine with what we say can be really difficult because we don't want to hurt feelings. We don't want, we don't want to cause waves and drama. And so here are a couple quotes from that particular agreement. Avoid using the word to speak against yourself or to gossip about others. Use the power of your word in the direction of truth and love. Go inside and listen to your body because your body will never lie to you. Your mind will play tricks. But the way you feel in your heart and in your gut is the truth. Wow. Wow, that is so powerful and profound. And I remember reading that the first time and I was like, what? There were so many mind blows in this book, and reading that for the first time was just a really, really powerful moment for me. Last one on this one is find yourself and express yourself in your own particular way. Express your love openly. Life is nothing but a dream. And if you create your life with love, your dream becomes a masterpiece of art. Isn't that awesome? Wow, how amazing to be able to think in that way. I spent so much of my life thinking that my suffering was part of my life, thinking that, my circumstances and where I was at in my life was kind of just the way that it was. And that reading that was really eye-opening for me to tell me that my life is whatever I want to make of it, right? And so, it's all about perspective. It's all about perception. So, okay, second agreement is don't take anything personally. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but also can be really difficult in our lives to be able to do. It's just so much easier said than done. As humans, we tend to believe that everything is about us, and which leads us to take things personally. We all have it within us. However, you have to remember the world doesn't revolve around you. Someone's words may be the result of them projecting their own beliefs of themselves onto you. And that to me is really, really powerful, because I think so often we have people who might worry about us, or people who may have doubts about what we're doing and how we're doing it, or they might feel jealous, or who knows what that emotion is, but people project some of their beliefs and some of their values onto us, but from a place of worry or doubt, or something that's not going to serve either me or them. And so it's so important for us to really recognize that might be their why, that it's really something going on within them. It's really somehow they now see you and where you're at as some form of a problem. And so that gets projected onto you. Okay, next page. All right, here are some quotes from Don't Take Anything Personally. Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of needless suffering. There's a huge amount of freedom that comes to you when you take nothing personally. Huge amount of freedom. Taking things personally makes you easy prey for these predators, the black magicians. They can hook you easily with one little opinion and feed you whatever poison they want. And because you take it personally, you eat it up. You eat all the emotional garbage, and now it becomes your garbage. But if you don't take it personally, you're immune in the middle of hell. Immunity to poison in the middle of hell is the gift of this agreement. Wow. That is so powerful and so true, right? When we take things personally, when we take the actions of others personally, or, find that we're getting our feelings hurt for different reasons, we're really not serving ourselves. We are just creating and intensifying suffering. And so by not taking things personally, by recognizing that it's not about us, it's not about you, and that can really allow you to let go and just be okay. Not everyone has to like you all the time. Not everyone has to think you do it all amazingly and smell like roses all the time. And that is something that I have really realized, and it's very profound. People can think whatever they want to about me, but I need to, at the core of myself, believe in myself by not taking things personally. All right, the next one is don't make assumptions. Making assumptions will not help you. You're not a mind reader, and you never know what someone else is truly thinking. Practicing the principle of don't make assumptions will definitely take some practice, especially if you're prone to making assumptions often. So here are a few quotes in the section of don't make assumptions. It's always better to ask questions than to make an assumption, because assumptions are going to set us up for suffering. Nothing other people do is because of you. It's because of themselves. Whew, that's big. Communicate with others as clearly as you can to avoid misunderstandings, sadness, and drama. With just this one agreement, you can completely transform your life. This particular quote is a quote that I really took to heart, because in such a powerful and profound book, in one sentence, he basically says, hey, you want to transform your life? You really want to take your life to the next level? You need to make sure that how you communicate avoids suffering, avoids drama as much as possible. And that is really something that I think I'm learning every day. How do I continue to show up for myself even better and better? So what I am trying to put out into the world is being received in the way that I most want to. Last one. If others tell us something, we make assumptions. And if they don't tell us something, we make assumptions to fill the void of not having the answer. Even if we hear something and we don't understand, we'll make assumptions about what it means, and then we'll believe the assumptions. So we make all sorts of assumptions because we don't have the courage to ask. We don't have the courage to just ask the questions and put ourselves out there and maybe look a little silly or, whatever, right? Like, I think we hold back from really leaning in and getting vulnerable when it comes to asking questions. And so instead, we assume. And assumptions, as he said, can be really, really dangerous and just almost always lead us down a road of suffering. The last one is called always do your best. So this is what we've heard from our parents. It's what we've heard from teachers, what we've heard all of our lives. And what I have truly come to believe, especially after reading this book, is if you're not practicing always do your best, then you're not living your life to the very best of your ability. And you may be missing out on opportunities, and you may be stunting what could be your personal growth. So ultimately, if you don't always do your best, you're ultimately hurting yourself in the long run. And I know that is not going to feel good to hear for some, but that is the hardest truth I learned within this book, and something I had to really sit with for a while and recognize that I was really the one holding myself back. And I had to decide once and for all which direction I want to go. Do I want to move towards confidence? And do I want to move towards having a life that is something that I feel like is my purpose? Or do I want to move in the direction of fear and doubt and worry and confusion and all of the other emotions that cause me not to move forward? So really, really amazingly powerful. So a few quotes on this agreement. The first one is, when you don't do your best, you're denying yourself to be you and the best part of you, right? Just do your best in any circumstance in your life. It doesn't matter if you're sick or if you're tired. If you always do your best, there's no way you can judge yourself. And if you don't judge yourself, there's no way you're going to suffer from guilt and blame and shame and self-punishment. Be always doing your best, and you will break a very big spell that you've been under. And that was the biggest mind blow, I think, of this book, is that I think all humans are prone to suffer, right? All humans, our default is some form of suffering. And when we can start to really recognize that, and we can start moving towards more of the person that we most want to be showing up as in our life, then our lives begin to shift. They begin to evolve. They begin to grow. And that is what I believe now so much in my life, and it's allowed me to step in to this version that I'm in now, and I continue to see her continue to grow into new and greater versions. So thank you so much for joining me on my very first Words of Wisdom Monday. And if you are interested, there are a couple of links down in the comments. That is basically what I do as a life coach. So I am a life coach for women in human resources. And a couple of things that I have coming up is, one, I have a program that I do called Alive to Thrive. So there's a link down below where you can learn all about the program and the couple of different options that you can have for experiencing it. And then the other thing I do is that I am going to be having a retreat. So the first that I've ever done, and it's going to be incredible. It's going to be for women in human resources, and it's going to be at the end of April in Scottsdale, Arizona. So more information on that can be found in the comments as well. All right. Thank you for coming to the program. Have a wonderful day.